Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Friday. My name is Diana Martin. I'm the Executive Director here at Hourglass, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's First Friday Forum on the Catherine Hershey Schools. As you'll learn today, Catherine Hershey Schools plans to open 3 new early education centers here in Lancaster County beginning in 2026. Today you'll learn more about those plans and the impact that they will have on our community. Today I'm joined by Senate Alexander, the Executive Director of Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning. Senate is a graduate of the Milton Hershey School, of which Catherine Hershey Schools is a subsidiary, and we're looking forward to learning more from him. He's also a lawyer, so graduate of a few other things maybe he'll tell you more about, but yeah, really excited to hear from you, and after today's presentation we'll have time for some questions and thoughts from all of you in the audience. So eager to hear what you want to know more about the Catherine Hershey Schools. Before I hand it over to Senate, we'll be in just a second here, I just want to thank our First Friday Forum sponsors, Rogers & Associates, for making these forums possible, as well as Millersville University and the Ware Center for hosting us, and Shoemaker for providing our live streaming services. So thank you all so much for joining us in this little bit of a gray day. You survived January. The groundhog said that we're having an early spring, so we have that to look forward to, and looking forward to hearing more. Thanks.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to Diana just for inviting me to this. We're just super excited to really just talk a little more just about our program. What are we trying to kind of achieve when we think about the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning, and really just kind of jump in, especially as we start to think about, what does this mean for Lancaster County, and how do we think about, the work that we're going to be doing here in Lancaster County in the very coming years. And let me move that up a little bit better so I can talk. Okay, so first of all, I'll just start with introducing myself. So just as Diana said, my name is Senate Alexander. I am the Executive Director of the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning. And so just a little bit about myself. So yes, as Diana said, I am both an educator. Well, I was an educator first, and then I'm also, yes, a recovering lawyer as well. But before even all of that all happened and everything, I first started out, so I did go to the Milton Hershey School. And so I actually went there at 9 years old at the Milton Hershey School. I'm originally from Philadelphia. My mom was a single parent. I'm from Philadelphia. It was both myself and my brother. Both of us went to the Milton Hershey School. We both really got a life-changing opportunity. I always sit there and say that, at the end of the day, I hit the lottery when I got to be able to be enrolled at the Milton Hershey School. Really looking at what I was facing in being in inner city Philadelphia, at a poor and failing school, once again in poverty, right? Not having very many opportunities, right? To be able to do things like extracurriculars, or having even sometimes even food insecurity that we really dealt with, as kids. And so being able to go to the Milton Hershey School, which is a residential school in Hershey, Pennsylvania, that serves children from pre-K to 12th grade, and just once again, just a world-class education. It has not only a world-class education, once again, it has just a world-class extracurriculars, and really just a lot of just great outcomes that have really come out of the Milton Hershey School. And so there's one thing that I've always said is that I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the Milton Hershey School and what they did for me, and just the education and just the care and the things that I was able to get while at the Milton Hershey School. And one of the things that so once I left the Milton Hershey School, I then went to Temple University, got my bachelor's degree in elementary education, thought I wanted to be a teacher, started really as an assistant teacher at a local YMCA in their early childhood education programs, and really just worked my way up. Went from an assistant teacher, went into a lead teacher, then became a director, then became a regional director, then became an executive director, and then I got the call to come home. and to be able to come back to the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning and really be able to really help the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning as it starts its new journey as a brand new early childhood education center, and once again to continue to build on Milton and Catherine Hershey's legacy, one legacy that I've benefited so much for, and that one that we really see that there will be so many children and families that will now continue to benefit from that legacy as we go. And so I am just honored to be here today to really share some more information about the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning. And as many of you know, in November of 2022, CHS announced our expansion into Lancaster County. And the announcement and the decision to expand in Lancaster County is really important to us, because really what it does is it really honors a return back to Milton and Catherine's early roots. Right, they started here in Lancaster. Right, Mr. Hershey started the Lancaster Caramel Factory, which then turned into he sold the Lancaster Caramel Factory, which then turned into the Hershey Company once he then founded Hershey. And so really, it enables us to really be able to really, coming back to Lancaster County, it really enables us to really deliver on the guidelines outlined in the Deed of Trust. So the Deed of Trust is basically what Mr. and Mrs. Hershey basically said that they wanted their money to be used for, and it is what funds really the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning. And so really in the Deed of Trust, Mr. Hershey was very clear on his intentions. He wanted to ensure that children in Dauphin, Lancaster, and Lebanon County should be prioritized when thinking about admissions to the school. And so when we were thinking about starting the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning, that was a really big driving force of what we were trying to do. How can we go back to that original intent of what Mr. and Mrs. Hershey wanted, which was helping Lancaster County children and families, and that being a priority. And so when we made the announcement, we invited a lot of different county leaders to join us for that announcement event, because it was really critically important for us that as some of the most impactful and dedicated individuals that are already serving Lancaster County, that you all were the first to know. And so at that event, we've had just so many. After that event, we just had so many different opportunities to just continue to really work with Lancaster County leaders to further discuss our plans and really begin identifying how our organizations can really partner together to make a difference in the lives of the Lancaster County children and families. And we really see that these connections are going to be vital, and they have already supported us in gaining a deeper understanding of the Lancaster County community, which in turn enables CHS to ensure that as we continue to develop our plans to open 3 centers in Lancaster County beginning in 2026, that we are complementary of already the important work that's already being done right here in Lancaster County. There are already nonprofits that are doing this work. There are already early childhood education facilities that are already doing this work in here. And so really we want to make sure that we're just being complementary to what's already there and serving children and families, which is what we all really care about when it comes. So I just look forward to really just sharing some more just about CHS as we go. Oh, I didn't do it. Hey. I think I'm going too fast on my clicks. So the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning. Our mission is to create high-quality early learning communities that nurture, educate, and empower children and families in social and financial need to lead fulfilling and productive lives. What we are doing is we are providing a year-round, non-residential, educational, social, and cognitive program to children from birth to age 5 from under-resourced and overburdened backgrounds. And my favorite part of the whole story is with all costs covered. And once again, I'm going to repeat that one more time, with all costs covered. It's no secret, right, for the folks that are in this room, that one of the single greatest barriers that families have in accessing high quality early childhood education is cost. And so we are proud to be able to provide our families with care that relieves them of that financial stress of placing their child in an early learning program, which ultimately opens doors that sets the entire family up for long-term success. And so how are we able to provide this, right? So we are able to provide this high quality programming at no cost to families, really thanks to the generosity of Milton and Catherine Hershey. As was already said, CHS is a subsidiary of the Milton Hershey School, which is, as you likely know, Milton and Catherine Hershey co-founded in 1909. Milton Hershey School is providing an exceptional educational experience to children from pre-kindergarten through 12th grade for over 100 years. And so, but in 2020, MHS received court approval to launch their $350 million early childhood education initiative to initially open 6 early childhood education centers in Pennsylvania. As a subsidiary of Milton Hershey School, we really leveraged MHS's best practices and history of success to deliver a high quality program that meets the needs of the whole child. While the fundamentals of our program are similar, we are 2 distinct programs. That said, children who attend CHS are not automatically admitted to MHS upon turning 5. However, while we do believe that there might be some families that after 5 years they might still need some additional help, and that they could apply to go to MHS. But while some families might find that MHS is the right fit for their child upon entering kindergarten and choose to apply, many of our CHS children will opt to attend kindergarten in their local school districts, which is why we hope to be partnering with some of those school districts, partnering with some of the different kind of community organizations, because we know that that's exactly what's going. Our children are going to be going out into the school district as they get ready for kindergarten readiness. And so CHS's leadership. Along with me, we also have our president, Pete Gert, and both Pete and I are both graduates of Milton Hershey School, which is why we are both just so deeply passionate about this work. And once again, as I've said, the Milton Hershey School really changed the trajectory of my life, and I also believe that when we think about the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning and what we can do, it can also really change the trajectory of so many children and families' lives as well. And so right now, we've got 2 for the 6 centers, right? So the first 3 of our 6 centers, planned locations, will be located in Dauphin County. This past fall, we opened our very first center in Hershey, located on the Milton Hershey School campus, and it's in close proximity to our central office, which supports each CHS location. Later this year, we'll conclude construction and open our second center, which will be in Harrisburg. And then soon thereafter, in 2025, we'll open up CHS Middletown, located off 283 near Oberlin and Fulling Mills Road. And now we get to Lancaster County. So while it is a few more years away, we are eager to begin our expansion into Lancaster County with 3 centers. One that's going to be in New Danville, one that will be in Lancaster City, and then one that'll be in Elizabethtown. And so just a little bit more just about these 3 centers and what these 3 centers are looking like. So CHS New Danville is actually a remodel of the former Lancaster Mennonite School's New Danville campus. CHS Lancaster City is located at the corner of North Plum and East Walnut Street, and it will revive 3 existing structures. And most recently, we announced the purchase of Reams Elementary, which we will remodel for our Elizabethtown location. And all of our Lancaster County locations are expected to begin opening in 2026. And so maybe I just want to speak a little bit more on why these locations, how we thought about these locations and these particular locations that are here. So one of the kind of overarching goals just for CHS, one is just is looking at need. Right, so one of the things that we found when we kind of did our needs assessment is just the vast number of need that's just here in Lancaster County of children not having access to high quality early childhood education. And so first and foremost, once again, need is a really big kind of factor of what we're looking for. The second then is obviously we need to find a suitable, once we have identified need, finding suitable facilities to be able to actually utilize our programs. And so in Dauphin County, which you'll see, which you saw, a lot of those three are all new builds. Really here in Lancaster County, we did really a lot of remodels. All three of these are going to be remodels of existing buildings and really taking existing schools, right? So in CHS New Danville, and then also in CHS Elizabethtown, being able to take those existing schools, refurbish them, renovate them, and really just ensure that, once again, these are schools that have already been helping children for years, right? So how can we take those schools and still continue to use those schools as a resource in those communities? And so really think that there's just such a unique opportunity to be able to use some of the old schools that we already kind of have that are out there. And then we also have just a super huge, I think, just opportunity in Lancaster City, where we have three buildings that are in kind of the historic district, and being able to really kind of revive those three buildings and use those in a very unique way. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit within there. But really, once again, I think that the need facilities, and then once again, really thinking about the prioritization as we think about when we think about what Mr. and Mrs. Hershey really wanted to do, and really who they wanted to serve, which was Lancaster County families. And so a little bit about our program. So one, we are year-round. We are weekdays 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we have full-time schedule. It is non-residential, so this is a day program that parents will come, pick up, drop off, pick up, etc. And so which is a differentiator from the Milton Hershey School, which is a residential program. Each location will serve up to 150 children, each from birth to age 5, and then it will also have up to 80 staff members that will be in each of those buildings. So, who do we serve? So the minimum admissions qualifications really come from, so one is it has to come from an income eligible family. Number two, they have to be between 6 weeks to 4 years old at the time of enrollment. And then number three, they have to have the ability to participate in and benefit from the CHS program. And so, as you can imagine, when we have we have way more applications than we actually have spots that we can actually accept. Just to give you a little bit of a number, from Hershey, we had about 1,400 applications that we had from our Hershey location. Right now in Harrisburg, I think we're up to almost 800 applications, and it's only been live for a week. And so for 150 spots, that means we have to really make some really tough decisions as to who will get into those for those 150 spots. And so really looking at really those minimum admissions kind of qualifications as we go. But I think the other thing that we also see, knowing that one, we have way more, and one of the, I think the organizational goals I think for CHS, knowing that we have way more applications than we have actual spots. One of the things that we've been talking a lot about is that, once again, well, what do we do with those families that, once again, they cannot get in, right? Because they still need care, right? And that is a big thing. And so how can we refer those families to other early childhood education providers? How can we ensure that, once again, those families get connected to what they need and the resources that they need, even if we personally cannot be able to serve them as an organization. And so that has been something that we have continued to kind of keep thinking about, like, what does that look like? How can we partner with other early childhood education facilities to help with that process as we go with CHS. And so really the CHS approach, right? So, what is the CHS approach? And so really there's really four big pillars that CHS is really trying to work on. One is that really how do we really provide a comprehensive program that serves the whole child and supports the family. Not only that, but to deliver the highest quality programming. We've invested in our teachers and staff while also measuring ourselves to monitor success. Really, the CHS approach really includes four key components. So number one is high quality teaching and early learning. So how do we ensure that the children that are in our are getting a good core early learning environment that really prepares them for kindergarten readiness, and not only kindergarten readiness, because that's only one part, but also how do we prepare them for life readiness? So how do we give them the skills, the habits, the academic competencies, the social emotional, the cognitive, like how do we make sure they have all of those things, and so that when they are going into the school districts and as they go, they can really, once again, be able to thrive once they get in there. So that is, first and foremost, how do we really do that? And really for us, one of the biggest things for us is really, it includes really having a low teacher to child ratio and really having a responsive curriculum for our children, right? So we know that all children don't learn the same, right? So how do we individualize and make sure that we are giving them the attention that they need so that they can reach the goals that they're trying to achieve? Number two, then it becomes our family success and our two-generational approach. We know you can't just invest just in the children. You have to also invest in the families as well. And so really for us, at each of our centers, we have a family success center that once, and really the part of that family success center is really dedicated, like how do we help these families really start to break some of the generational poverty? Right, so how do we get them connected to some community resources? So how do we get them healthcare referrals? How do we help them with job training? How do we help them when maybe they want to go back to school? Financial literacy, right? So all the things that are going to break generational poverty, we really want to be a connector and really be helping our families to really start to work through and really set goals, achieve goals, and really start to then build upon what they are trying to achieve. Really, which then obviously, as we know, if the parents are doing better, that trickles down to the children doing better. And so, number three. Then is our whole child supports. So we also know that children need, additional things like food, right? Diapers, wipes, and so really including so everything from health services that are there on the actual on the premises, nutrition services, early intervention is also something that will also be on site. So having a speech language pathologist, an OT, an occupational therapist, a physical therapist. How do we ensure that they get connected to the IU if they have certain interventions that they need? So once again, that they can really set them up for success, if they need those kind of early intervention services. But yes, everything from all of those things, like I said, diapers, wipes, clothing, supplemental clothing, all the things that really children need in order to be able to be successful while they're at school. And then lastly, the other big approach for us is really measuring outcomes, and so really continuous quality improvement. We just believe that, one, in order to, as an organization, we want to be a learning organization and continuing to just learn as an organization. And so at each of our centers, we have both a local evaluation partner that's really taking a look at our practices, looking at best practices, helping us really think about like how do we drive outcomes and how do we really help children and how do we really help families. And so we also have a network evaluation partner as well. And so that network evaluation partner is really looking at, once again, how is CHS as an organization really helping its children, its families, and the community that it's in? And so we really see that network evaluation partner not only will be doing it for all of the CHS, but it also will be a longitudinal study that they actually will be doing. And so really what we see from that longitudinal study is that we should see really best practices that hopefully will come out from out into to other early child education providers, to other community organizations that are also trying to do some of this work. So really thinking about like how do we measure our outcomes, really understand it, and also share both the good and the bad, the things that didn't go well as well. So to say, hey, don't make some of the mistakes that we have made when it comes to some of these things, but how do we really start to share some of that information as we go? And so I'll talk a little bit more about those program outcomes and what we mean by measuring outcomes and what does that means. So the longitudinal study I just referenced will really enable us to assess the impact of our programs on children, families, and our communities. And so really in doing so, we really aim to achieve the following. So for our children, right? So there are three really big goals that we want to help for our children. How do we help them, support their social, emotional, and character development? Number 2, how do we provide play-based experiences for nurtured cognitive development for kindergarten readiness? And then number 3, how do we then foster health, well-being, and physical development? Really, all 3 of those things are really what helps children really be prepared for not only kindergarten but also for life, if we can really think about what those outcomes are. Number 2, then for our families, there's really 2 big things that we're really thinking about for our families. So first and foremost, how do we really promote family engagement in the children's development? So how do we engage our families to be in our programs, right? So understand the importance of attendance. How do we help them understand the importance of child development and how do we understanding the different social services that are out there, or social supports that they may need, especially as they start to go into and have to navigate the school district system. So really, how do we really think about really starting to really help them really understand their children's development? And then secondly, then how do we help facilitate families' ability to meet their children's holistic needs? And so once again, that goes back to all those things that I was talking about at first, right? So setting goals, so things like having the ability, so thinking about, like I said, financial literacy, right? Understanding of being able to think about home buying. How do we think about healthcare referrals? How do we think about dentists? All of those things. Like, how do we really get our families really to be thinking about all of the things that they're really going to be that they're going to be utilizing? How do we become a partner with our families to help them with this and go along this journey? Because it's hard being a parent. I got 4 kids, and there's a lot of things, and so really being coming alongside of them to really help them as we go. And then the last one is then communities. And so really the 2 big ones for how do we help strengthen communities through direct impact on CHS families, and then how do we build a strong local learning ecosystem and really impact the national field. Really this is where I think there's so much work that just can be done, and there's just so much work in partnership with people that are already doing this work, right? A lot of you already are doing some of this work and already doing and being a part of this. And so we really see that, really how do we strengthen communities and how do we come in as a partner, that really just can understand like what are the needs in Lancaster County? Who are the players that are already doing some of this work? How do we partner together? How do we have collective impact for what we're trying to achieve? At the end of the day, I think we all believe that children and families need to be served. How do we do that effectively, and how do we do that in the best way that makes sure that all of the children and families that we have out there that, once again, that don't have care and don't have these things, don't have access to this care, can get that care, whether that's from CHS or from another provider. But how do we continue down that? And we just want to be partners with you all as we think about all of that work. And so delivering the CHS experience. So you heard me talk a little bit earlier about the 80 individuals at each center. And so just to give you a little bit of breakdown of what that kind of looks like. So we have our scholastic staff. So obviously we have our teachers that are in the classroom. So we have 3 teachers that are in each classroom. We have usually 6 infant through toddlers, so 0 to 2, and then 6 preschool classrooms, 3 to 5. Secondly, then we have our family success, and each of our family success. So we have a family success manager, and underneath the family success manager at each center is 6 family success advocates. And really, once again, those family success advocates, that their only job is to really help those families, really start to break that generational poverty. So we're looking at probably about a caseload at each center between 20 to 25 per family success advocate. Then we have our health services. So at each of our centers, we do have a registered nurse that is at the center to be able to provide care for the children that is there. As I said before, speech and language pathologists, PT, OT, all of those things for early intervention support. We also have behavioral health interventionists as well to help with some of the behavioral health issues that usually arise in early childhood education, and that can also start to kind of refer for interventions and things that are needed. And so really thinking about, we see this, child care just as much as it is about access to child care. This is also a health situation as well. And so how do we ensure that we are really thinking about that? It's very hard to be able to, do well in school if you're not feeling well. if you're not healthy, if you don't have the development, if you have developmental delays. And so how do we really kind of come alongside, one, to help with some of that, some of those things, of those developmental delays as well. Then we have our operations staff. So when we think about security, we think about food services, transportation is underneath there. All of those whole child supports also goes within there. So diapers, wipes, and all of those are in there as well underneath the operations side. And then lastly, we have our leadership and administration. So at each of our centers, there is a center director for that particular center that really leads that center, really sets really really helps to set the goals, the strategies, and really ensures just the day-to-day operations of that center, and obviously in consultation and with the CHS central office. In addition to that, one of the things that we know just in all of this, like we can't do this alone. And so we partner with a lot of outside organizations to help us really deliver some of our services and some of our CHS experiences. So things like Penn State Health, who's helping us with our health services. We have Kobe's Family Services, the University of Pittsburgh, which is our partner for our local evaluation partner that's doing a lot of the of our evaluation of our program. Move Forward Counseling, Members First, which is helping us with a lot of the financial literacy classes that families are taking. Elizabethtown College, Messiah Colleges, knowing that once again, in order to have a strong talent pipeline, we also need to work with universities to also help with those as well. So how do we really think about this kind of ecosystem, really of CHS really helps with a lot of obviously delivering the day-to-day, but once again, how do partners help us once again to continue to magnify the mission that we're trying to do? And once again, I talk to our staff a lot about we are greater together, and how do we continue to be greater together in the work that we're trying to do? It is by, once again, breaking down silos and really figuring out how do we partner with one another to achieve really the collective goals that we just have as a community. Okay, so now that you've gained really a deeper understanding of who we are and the programming we delivered, I'll share just more about our journey and what it's looked like over the recent years just as the initiative has started. So following court approval to launch Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning in 2020, we really invested just a lot of time in building our team and obviously developing our programming. And this really, positioned us to reach one of our most significant milestones in 2022, which really was the launching of our first ever professional development program. And really, this marks, our professional development program really marks the beginning of, it's a nearly one-year professional development program that equips our teachers and our staff of our first location, which was CHS Hershey, to really deliver high-quality programming. One of the things, having really strong professional development for our teachers and our staff, that's what's going to get us really to, really realizing some of the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. And so really this 1 year, this investment, once again, being able to bring on staff a year in advance to be able to really work through this and really start to work on some of those best practices, understanding curriculum, understanding health and safety, understanding how do you work through team dynamics, team building, all of those different types of things so that they can be successful when they walk into the center when it first opens, and that we're ready really on day one to really deliver high quality programming. So then we broke ground on our planned location in Harrisburg, and soon after, we announced obviously our expansion into Lancaster County. And really, once again, we are just so grateful. There's once again who could just join us on that day because it was really a historic gathering, to really celebrate once again this return back to Milton and Catherine's roots. And for those who were not there, we have some highlights for that day.
Milton S. Hershey was a man of incredible vision, relentless perseverance, and remarkable generosity. His historic career started in Lancaster, where he served as an apprentice candy maker. He met Catherine "Kitty" Sweeney, It was love at first sight. Milton always said it was Kitty's idea to start the Hershey Industrial School that fulfilled their dream to provide opportunities for children in need. That school is now known as Milton Hershey School. Today, the Hershey's legacy of transforming lives continues to grow through Catherine Hershey Schools for early learning.
Studies show that high-quality early child education is linked to higher literacy rates, higher high school graduation rates, reduced likelihood of criminality, and success just later in life. And that is the driving force of why the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning has set out to provide cost-free early childhood education, non-residential weekday for birth to 5 years old. Today, we get to excitedly announce of us joining the Lancaster County community with the addition of 3 centers across the county dedicated to serving Lancaster County children and families.
It is my pledge that we will do everything we can to partner with you in this room to make sure that we are complementing the work that you're doing.
I want to just acknowledge that what this means for moms and their kids, their families, dads, grandparents, that ripple effect extends to our communities, the strength of our neighborhoods, the strength of our local economy, our ability for employers to have a rich pool of people to draw from to grow our businesses here in Lancaster.
We look forward to collaborating with early childhood education providers, community organizations, city officials, and respected community members like yourselves, as we cannot achieve this alone.
So let's live out Mr. and Mrs. Hershey's vision in Lancaster County and ensure that every one of the children growing up in front of our eyes has a better opportunity at success because of our collaboration.
We did have our first ever ECE Summit, ECE Leader Summit at the Hershey Lodge in the spring, where we brought together local ECE professionals and providers for a professional development conference that featured expert speakers from all over the country. Our summit is an event that we expect to host annually by providing an opportunity for professional development and networking as we combine local expertise with national insight, and really at no cost to our attendees. We also have we have now launched our second professional development program for our CHS Harrisburg team. And so we are really just excited about bringing that team on, and then now being able to hopefully, that team now to start to launch their center, which is going to happen in the summer towards the fall, that we'll be opening that center. There we go. And so I'm going to just kind of quickly just touch on a couple of things that we just seen from our Seeds to Lead professional development program. So one, we just first recognize that we just have a unique opportunity to be able to do this, and we are just really thrilled that one thing that really came out of this one was just the fact that how many new people that we were actually able to bring into the field. And so 21 of our teachers at our first 2 locations were newly or re-entering the field of early child education. One of the things that we hear is that there's staffing shortages. And so how do we continue to widen the funnel? How do we bring more people and more teachers into the fold and really continue to really help with their development, and then have them actually stay in early childhood education? And so in addition to that, we also had 25 individuals that also have already started to get their child development associate, which is really that entry-level degree or entry-level certificate to really start your career in early childhood education. And then, as I mentioned before, this year, in October of 2023, we opened up we had our grand opening of our CHS Hershey location. And so, after years and years, right, of just thinking about this and really thinking about, how are we going to do this, being able to have those kids there and actually have them come in the doors and actually see them every day, actually playing on all the things that we conceptually, that has really been super rewarding, I think, for us and really thinking about just once again, how many kids, those children that we're actually now, that we're serving and helping. And so, that was just such a great moment, and it is such a great moment every single time, we're able to that we go into the center. It is a magnificent facility, and we're super just excited about just about the work that we've had there. And so just to give you a little bit more of like, who are we serving? What does that look like for those first 150 children? So we begun serving our first 150 children. 80% of those children were actually children that were not in an early childhood education facility before. Right, so we were finding children that did not have access, and we were giving them access and providing them access. 80% of those children. For many of our families, there were multiple barriers that prevented them from gaining access to child care. For 77% of our families, they're defined as ALICE by the United Way, meaning they are deeply struggling to make ends meet, but are not eligible for some of the programs and resources designed to meet the needs of families living in poverty. And so by providing families with reliable care and through goal setting with our family success team, we've already had 34 parents and family members that have already gained full-time employment in just 4 months just because of our program, which is such an amazing thing. Yes. But we know that once again that securing employment, that's just one of the things that families need. And so far, 13 organizations have met with our families on site to really connect them to services. So things like if they have a food insecurity, so we partner with Cocoa Packs, and so we have had families that have that's probably on my next page. Let's go to the next one. And so really, to provide a little bit more on those partnerships, and once again, what does that look like? So 40 families have already participated in financial literacy meetings hosted by our partner members first. 75 of our children have already registered for Cocoa Packs. 26 of our parents are already employed by partner organizations that we have in companies. We have 2 MOUs with colleges and universities as we try to continue to kind of grow the pipeline of staff that are going to be at our programs. And so once again, I can't stress enough, partnerships. We cannot do this alone. We need partnerships to be able to achieve the mission and the vision that we're looking to do. And I'm looking at time. This is 12:43, so I'm going to go through a couple more of these, and then we can turn it over for questions. Oh, sorry. Let's go back. So Lancaster County. So just a quick little bit of just kind of looking at, just once again, what I kind of described in terms of the different locations in Lancaster County. So as previously mentioned, CHS Lancaster City will be located at the corner of North Plum and East Walnut Street. We selected this location because it provides the extensive space needed to deliver all the components of the CHS programs in a location that's accessible to the families we serve. Here is a rendering of our vision of CHS Lancaster City. Which was designed by Gary Weaver of Tippett Weavers Architects, located right here in Lancaster, who, as you likely know, has an extensive experience in historical projects. So Gary's here in the room. Hi, Gary. But once again, even just the selection of that, that was also very intentional. We wanted someone that knew Lancaster, that understood really understood the roots of Lancaster, the historical context, really trying to really make sure that once again, so that way we can make sure we got that flavor. It didn't feel like it was a transplant, but it was just part of the actual community that we're looking at. And so and so we look forward to being able to partner with the Lancaster School District, the Manheim Township School Districts, as we think about what does all that look like, what does a kindergarten transition look like. I've already mentioned, so here's what what the old Lancaster Mennonite School looks like. Here's what it's going to look like for our CHS New Danville. This is going to be our smallest planned location. It's expected to serve about 100 children, which again will be remodeled, which again we are starting the remodel process for that. Here's CHS Elizabethtown. So the again, as we were excited to recently just announce the location of CHS Elizabethtown. We purchased the former Reams Elementary School building, which previously sold children from the Elizabethtown area school district. And so our remodel plans are really picking up as we start to develop what that's going to look like for CHS Elizabethtown. And then I'll just show just a couple of pictures about just, once again, what do you see at a CHS location. So obviously our play area, right? Play is a big thing for children. So having our different play areas. One of the big things that you'll just know is about for our play areas is that we try to make them as oversized as possible because we really want children to be able to go out and play. And so not only we'll see lots of outdoor play areas, but also indoor play areas as well. So we have indoor gross motor room for indoor play, and then we have playgrounds that are also connected to all of our buildings. Our classrooms. Oops. This is a picture of what you see, what a classroom looks like. So each CHS center also includes age-appropriate classrooms, really designed to include essential features for the children. That includes the support of our CHS experiences. So accessible sinks, dedicated areas for developmental activities, tables conducive to family-style dining. Really trying to just ensure that the children in that classroom have access to the materials that they need to be able to get the education and support that they need. Well, child supports. So this is the picture of our Family Success Center and CHS Hershey. And so once again, as I've said before, this is where we have a lending library in there. We have usually casual and private meeting space. So that's where the family success advocates meet with the family success, or meet with families. So in each of these spaces, that is really critical for us is like, how do we meet our families where they are? How do we just ensure that they have the things that they need to be able to be successful at CHS? And so a couple closing thoughts just before so before I wrap up and open up the floor for questions or comments, I'd just like to step back and just once again just think about just really the bigger picture with some closing thoughts. Everything that I've shared with you today from the strategic really stem from the strategic goals that we're trying to really achieve here at CHS. And really the first thing, first and foremost, we're trying to engage and retain high quality staff. We know that there is an ECE staffing shortage, and so how can we help address some of those things for our staff members? Secondly, is really how do we start to design and implement the best comprehensive program for our children and our families? And really, how do we use that to then leverage practices in early child education, whole child care, and really the two-generational approach to really create a model that really sets up children for lifelong success and changes outcomes for families. The third thing is then really strengthening communities. I talked a lot about communities and partnerships. We really think that is really strengthening communities is going to be a really key part of what we're trying to do and being partners with folks on strengthening those communities. Lastly, I'd also just talk about just is that, once again, we are committed to continuous quality improvement. How do we continue to get better? How do we better serve the children and families? How do we better serve the community? And how does all of that look as we continue to grow as an organization here at CHS? As we continue to partner with all of you as we go. And so as we prepare to join Lancaster County in 2026, really our focus and efforts will be about establishing partnerships and relationships, determining who and how can we collaborate together, whether it will be an organization who can provide services supporting CHS's operations, or families working with organizations or school districts that will support the long-term success of families even beyond the time that they're at CHS, or really developing a referral system with organizations who have families that could benefit from CHS. We'll also be prioritizing collaboration on professional development as our nearly year-long professional development program launches. launches a year in advance of each Lancaster City Center opening. We look forward to really connecting with ECE providers, school districts, social workers, and more to ensure that ECE professionals across the county have access to opportunities to expand their knowledge and their impact. And so once again, we can't wait to continue to keep working with everyone in Lancaster County. We can't wait to continue to partner with you all and really how do we be a part of the community and be a part of the work the great work that's already happening in Lancaster County. I'm just so excited to be able to do that. So we'll then turn it over to get ready for questions.
Great, thank you. That was a lot of information. I'll give you a round of applause. Yeah, I'll let you fix that up. Raise your hand if you have a question or some thoughts to share. I'll start over here.
Hi, thanks for presenting and more importantly coming to the community. What a great asset it's going to be for us. I guess my question would be, going back to the families, is there any, I don't know how to phrase it other than just say it, any level of accountability you hold for the parents or the guardians of the children as far as their progress and improving their situations as they have this privilege?
Yeah. So one of the things that we think about for CHS is that, we see this as when you are enrolling in CHS, you're committed to CHS and committed to CHS in all of its different, all of its aspects. And so one of the aspects is that we do, expect that families are bringing their children to CHS Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, because we know attendance is very important. If you're not there, it's very hard to get the education and the supports that you need. And so then two, yes, we do expect that families are going to be a part of the goal setting process and really being a part of that goal setting process and really thinking about, yes, how do they start to change their trajectory? And so really the family success advocates, really that's their job, is to really work with them and I think have a healthy push of, hey, how do we get to a better place? How do we get to this next goal? How do we think about some of that? And I really see them as, really helping and coming alongside the families to really say, all right, how do we change how do we change your trajectory? And what does that look like? And so I think that there's going to be some things that I think that are both CHS thinking about some of it, and also family directed when it comes to those goals. But absolutely, I think that we do think that, yes, we do want to see that we want families to continue to progress and continue to grow as a part of our program.
Thank you. My name is Liz over here. I'm with the Hourglass. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to hear your presentation. I've heard a lot about the Catherine Hershey School, and I think it's going to be really a game changer for Lancaster County. So thank you again for coming to talk to us about it. One of the things that I've heard, and you mentioned this a number of times, is collaboration, which is obviously so important, especially because you can't begin to help as many children as need the daycare situation. So would there be any thought to being able for the Catherine Hershey School to actually be able to help train additional teachers or staff that then could go out and help with the other not-for-profit or even for-profit daycare centers, and also even possibly be able to provide subsidies to them so that they can pay their staff more and what their staff are worth to give quality child care?
Sure. So I think there's two parts I think that I would answer to that. So yes, I think from a professional development standpoint, absolutely. We believe that, and we've already done some of that already. So in Hershey, we were going through that professional development program. We had early childhood providers. So basically, as we were bringing in speakers, we were also opening that to the community as well. Also our ECE Leader Summit, also once again, another thing that was it was by invitation, but it included ECE providers, universities were invited to that, school districts were invited to that. So because we do believe that professional development is something that we absolutely really can help with when it comes to, once again, how do we continue to, raise up the field in terms of just kind of standards and expectations and how we're trying to work with that. And, the thing for us is that if we're already bringing a speaker in, right, or someone that's doing that professional development and our staff already, are receiving it as well, being able to let the community in for 20 spots, 25 spots, we absolutely can do that and really think about that. The second piece of your question around, subsidy. So one thing, we wouldn't be able to help with subsidies. The rules for the deed of trust is very clear. We cannot be a grant-making organization or give funds to other organizations as a nonprofit. We have to keep, Mr. and Mrs. Hershey wanted it directly to go to the children and the families that were actually a part of that are part of the school. So that is one thing that just because of our just the deed of trust and just what Mr. Hershey wanted, it's not something that we can do. But I do think that there's other ways that we can still continue to think about and at least be a thought partner in that kind of discussion and in that kind of conversation about as we think about all of those things as we go. So yeah.
Hi, Senate.
Hi.
So I will put a number on that. We actually have about 6,000 children in Lancaster County who are eligible for state-funded, high-quality childcare that don't have access. So it is a large number, and I was wondering if Catherine Hershey School has thought about ways to lift up the importance of quality early learning as a system. I mean, we know that you touched upon it. It is a historically underfunded, undervalued system in which we have childcare providers that are making on average $12.50 an hour. Right now, we have classrooms that are closing because we don't have the teachers to fill them. You alluded to the staffing crisis.
Yeah.
We have a new administration, I think, that certainly was part of helping CHS get started. And I think that there's a real opportunity to have external stakeholders really understand how critically important quality early learning is for children, for families, but also for our economic future. Is there a way that Catherine Hershey School can lift up this messaging to help our community, both locally and statewide, just really understand why public investments are so important to this particular focus?
Sure. Yeah, so I think that there's two things. I think right now, I think where we're at just as we're a brand new organization, as a startup organization, really trying to make sure we understand, I think, our programming and what does that kind of look like. But I do think that to the larger, I think, question of how do we continue to keep talking about this. I think as a nation, we need to continue to keep talking about this and that we need to continue to have that. And so I definitely see that. I think that there is, I think, an opportunity, right, for us to, as we continue to grow our programs, see our results, see our outcomes as things go out, to be able to make a case that like, hey, this is, when you think about just early child education, why it's so important, how do we continue to make sure that people understand just the investment that you get out of this, which is a huge investment. I definitely see that there's definitely synergies for us to definitely be, I think, have the ability to speak to that and speak to some of the outcomes that you get. And also, I think because we're tracking so much, we'll also understand what is the actual cost. Because I think one of the things that has actually been, I think, what is the actual cost for, high quality early childhood education? What does that look like? How do we think about that which I then think can then have a much broader conversation with the ones, once again, how do we then get that? How does that high quality cost then help for other providers? And what does that look like just at a policy level, on a more macro level that's within here? So I do think that there's definitely room for us to be thinking about that. And we want to be a part of, I think, some of those discussions as we amplify, because this is a real need that that we as a collective or a collective just community needs to figure out.
Hey, also from Philadelphia, single parent home. I have a true appreciation for the work, personally, for the work that you guys do, because I'm a beneficiary of a subsidized, funded education that transformed my life and made all the difference in the world for me. Yeah. I understand the supply-demand dynamic of the work you guys are doing. Just a simple question: what's the capacity of the Lancaster facility, or what's the planned capacity for students?
Yeah, so the planned capacity right now is 150 students that are in each center is what it is. I would say is that just in anything, we're always trying to think about how can we serve more children, and so I don't know that that's always going to be the exact plan, but that is at least the planned capacity right now. But yes, that is always the thing of just how can we serve more children in the resources that we have to be able to do that.
So as a follow-up to that, could you tell us a little bit more about the selection process for the 150? And I realize it's a sliding scale, or it can be financially, but what is the max in terms that you would not go over income-wise? But then what other characteristics? So you have income, And then you had 2 or 3 other characteristics you were looking for.
Yeah. So a couple things. So for that. So for the the characteristics that we're looking for. So income is just one piece of the characteristics that's within there. Another thing that we're also looking for is parental motivation. So we want parents that actually want to actually do this work, right? So we're not a care, drive part-time program, right? So if a parent's like, well, we only want 2 days out of the week, that's not our program, because of just the amount of investments that we're making into the program and the fact of what we're trying to do in terms of dosage. The other thing is that we are also looking for, when we think about these things, right, we're taking a holistic kind of approach, right? Because any families don't come, they come in all different shapes and sizes and all different different things. And so for us, we are looking at things like, yes, what are the social factors that are going on in that particular family, right? What are the financial factors that are going on in that family? What are some of the different dynamics that we're starting to see in that family? And then we're just trying to figure out, how do we get from that, how do we get a diverse, and I don't mean just diverse in terms of just the diversity in terms of race and ethnicity. I'm talking about diversity of needs, right? So how do we find families, once again, that don't have care? How do we find families that, once again, that might also be really struggling, so that might be a single parent, and some folks that, once again, that are grandparents that are actually raising the children, as opposed to the original parents. So there's a lot of factors that we really think about when it comes to picking the 150. But once again, it really is about really thinking about really the holistic, the diversity of it, of the applicant pool, of the holistic, and really trying to help the families that really want, once again, that are motivated and want to be here.
But is there a dollar figure?
There is a dollar figure. The dollar figure is so. He wants the number. I don't have the actual number. What I have is the percentage. So it's basically the same thing as pre-K counts. So pre-K counts is 350% of the federal poverty line, up to 300% of the federal poverty line. So.
Well, thank you so much, Senate, for being here. Absolutely. And the Catherine Hershey Schools. Raise your hand if you're from the Catherine Hershey Schools. They have a number of staff who also traveled with them today. So if you have some more questions, I'm sure they're happy to stick around and you can get to meet more folks from their staff. Thank you so much, Senate. Let's give him a round of applause. Appreciate you coming out today. Oh, yep. See how far I go. So yes, there will be the PowerPoint slides from today will be on our website next week, as well as a video recording of today's presentation. So please feel free to share that with anyone in the community who would benefit from that information. I also wanted to give you guys a heads up about 2 upcoming events we have at Hourglass. One is our next First Friday Forum. We will be back here on Friday, March 1st. That we will be hearing from the leaders of the Lancaster County Community Foundation. Sam's here, I think he'll be one of our speakers, all about their 100th anniversary. So they're celebrating a really big milestone, and we're going to hear about their plans for that milestone and some of their vision for the future. So looking forward to that. If you want to make sure you get invites to all of these events, please become an Hourglass member on our website at hourglasslancaster.org. We also have a free event coming up next week that is open to the public back here at the Ware Center. We're doing that in partnership with Keep Our Republic and the Steinman Institute for Civic Engagement. And it is about trust in our elections. That's a community conversation. We know that's going to be an important topic here for 2024. So we have a number of great speakers and panelists from both the local and state level. One of them is one of our commissioners who's here today as well. So please join us for that next week. We'd love to know that you're coming. It is a free event. You can register at hourglasslancaster.org/election 2024. So looking forward to seeing you at those upcoming events, and until then, have a great weekend. Thanks.